applications were not assessed fully in accordance with the guidelines.
There isn't a record of how the decisions were made.
Another parliamentary year and more questions are being asked about another government grant program. An audit report into the Safer Communities Fund has revealed more than $110 million worth of grants awarded without any clear explanation by the various government ministers in charge.
They didn't come up as the most meritorious, but they were selected for funding in any event.
It's not a surprise that the government's knocked off an independent integrity commission, given this kind of evidence.
Exactly 1 year ago, then Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton was under fire in Parliament for his role as one of the ministers involved in this grant program after an investigation by 730.
Why did the minister reject merit-based recommendations from his own community safety experts for the Safer Communities Fund?
Mr Speaker, the split between Coalition and Labor seats under that program, wait for this startling number, is 51.45% to Coalition and 48.55% to Labor seats. They throw mud and they look to distract. You are in your dying days, brother.
We entrust a lot of power and authority to ministers. The problem is if a minister decides to abuse that, or misuse it, or not pay attention to the correct parameters.
The Safer Communities Fund was set up 6 years ago as a way to reduce crime across the country.
Thank you very much. Great to be here this morning for a very important announcement.
A common one is a risky area of a streetscape or in a park where the council wants better lighting or they want CCTV protection.
In the lead up to the 2019 election, Peter Dutton had the final say in the third round of funding these grants. He decided how much each applicant was awarded.
But it had to be approved by the minister who had the ultimate discretion. He had the final say. So in a sense, he had overall control and ultimate responsibility for where the money went.
Confidential ministerial briefings obtained by 730 through Freedom of Information laws revealed that Peter Dutton went against his own department's recommendations, shifting millions of dollars from some highly rated projects and diverting those funds to other community groups, most of them in coalition or marginal seats.
It was a clear attempt to use taxpayer money like Liberal Party money by taking safety funding off communities that needed it most and gave it to Liberal and marginal seats.
The auditor's report identified a number of other shortcomings with the program, primarily the role of successive ministers and how they selected projects to fund. 54% of grants approved were either not clearly recorded or did not address the funding criteria.
The way that the scheme operated was that there were certain criteria and the bureaucrats sifted through it and allocated priorities. The bureaucrats' decisions were overturned without reasons.
Across several rounds of funding, the audit identified no clear electoral bias, except for the third round, controlled by Peter Dutton. The audit found that coalition-held marginal electorates had a high proportion of funding applications approved. It also found that partial funding for some projects was more likely to be awarded to applicants in safe or marginal ALP seats.
I'm horrified that any Minister for Home Affairs could think it's appropriate to take community safety money away from a community simply because it's in a Labor seat.
Peter Dutton previously told 730 any suggestion the government had done anything other than support worthy projects was nonsense. He said he was proud of the support provided to various organisations, which he said had made Australia a safer place.
What we've seen of late is exposure of scheme after scheme after scheme where funds can be said to have been misallocated. The effect is that you'd have no confidence whatsoever in the ministers applying the discretion that they have to do it properly.
This is the latest grant program to have been scrutinised by the Auditor-General. It's also examined the $100 million Community Sport Infrastructure Fund and the $660 million National Community Car Park Fund. Their office is also currently reviewing a $1.38 billion regional grant fund.
The National Audit Office is the key integrity body in Australia, but its great work should be coupled with the powers which would be given to a Federal Integrity Commission. It could look more deeply and it could look for real wrongdoing.
With an election looming, Labor Senator Christina Keneally says she's concerned that millions of dollars in grant funding could once again be wielded for political purposes.
There are $16 billion of decisions taken but not announced in the budget. That is $16 billion of taxpayer money there ready to be used for the Liberals to pork barrel in an election.
Every Australian should be worried that public funds are going to be misallocated for political purposes in the run-up to a hotly contested federal election. I'm concerned, everybody else should be as well.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.